morning, everyone. Good morning, and then welcome to our Sunday service today. We are grateful gathered together today, and both in person and online too. So let us begin our service with open hearts as we come before God. Okay, so let us begin our service with our opening song. Put your hands to the plow. So please give the praise team a big round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to stand up and we'll do some agricultural work now, spiritually.
E minor?
A minor.
E minor.
Yeah, the funny thing.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so now let's take a moment to greet one another. Please say hello to the next person to say hello. And then for those joining us online, feel free to say hello each other in chat. Hello, Happy New Year. Then we hope you're the best this year as well. Okay, thank you so much. Please come back to seats. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, now before we recite the family praise, let us turn our hearts towards the Heavenly Parent. Please stand up and let us offer a bow to Heavenly Parent, true parents. 차렷, 천진 참 부모님께 경배. 바로. Okay, then let's. So we will now continue with family praise number 2. Our family, pledges your presence and become our by attending the heavenly parents into prayers. We pledge to perfect the beautiful way of your sons and daughters in our family, patrons in our nation, saints in the world, and divine sons and daughters in the heaven and on earth. By setting on to Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, now I'm gonna represent the prayer to offer. Please join my prayer. Love Heavenly Parent and victorious true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Thank you so much. We love so much. As we begin the new year of 2026, we are truly grateful that all of us can gather here at Harrow Center today to offer this Sunday service together. The year 2026 is the year of the red horse. The red horse represents decision, change, and challenge. We pray that our community can move forward with strength and determination like the red horse, running toward our goals. Above all, we sincerely hope that this community can become one with our Holy Mother Han, our true mother, and move forward together in step with heaven's providence. Today, Pastor William will share a sermon titled Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. We humbly ask that Heavenly Parent may speak through His words, so that the message you wish to share with the members can be deeply delivered through this sermon. As we honestly pray for the health, peace, and the well-being of our true mother, we offer all these words with gratitude in my name of Lee Moon-hee, a blessed child of centering a child of blessed family who attending our Holy Mother Han. Ju. Thank you. So let us continue with our next songs, If Life Were Grace Enough. Please welcome the praise team's warm heart. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, please be seated. Okay, now we will have time for announcements and sharing. So I want to invite Uncle Chris to help. Thank you.
All right, we'll run through the national announcements first. So there's a Sunghwa ceremony. It's on Tuesday at Livingston House for Carmela Lim, 10 o'clock. This grant and budget process for the national projects, then it's all set up. National service in Tottenham on February the 22nd, so there won't be a service locally at that time, so we'll all go. Perhaps we can help each other with transport. There's some little guidelines about the transport in the newsletter. You might have a look at that. So we're doing a 40-day period of devotion in preparation for True Parent's birthday. So there's some readings being sent out. It's being sent out by WhatsApp for those who can get that way. And for sisters, even more devotion in the same period. 5 minutes prayer at noon. Companions of Faith workshop in February, end of February, March. Where's Chellington Centre, Henny? I don't know where it is. Somewhere in England, anyway.
Well, it's not too far north of...
I see.
I think it might even be...
Okay, anyway. I'm sure there's details if you get the QR code. Blatching and Blessing Preparation Workshop, the same period, online. And Foundations 26 will have started already, but it's an online program, so I'm sure you can join in. And all of those things on the website. Okay, so there's a new project being initiated by Grace Mvika and Sophia Nichols, and we're sponsoring it. So this is primarily for the London area. It includes River South as well as North Thames. But it's a really nice idea brought by YSP, Youth Students for Peace, called Faith in Action. So it's a chance for the younger members to practice faith through service by supporting members in the community, especially those elder and less able. So those who would like some help, you can submit a request, and then those who are volunteering can join the program. So there's different sort of online forms to request help or to offer help. So that will be coordinated over the next few months by Grace and Sophia. So I'm sure you'll hear more about it. So there's a joint blessing event with UPF at Lancaster Gate on April the 18th and a preparatory seminar on March 21st. So you could think about who you might be able to invite to that. Individuals, ideally couples who are preparing for marriage or are already married. And those are the upcoming services. All of that's in the newsletter, but it's also on the WhatsApp, so on the web page that we have. So I hope that more and more you could use that. It's a good source of information. It has the bank details and all kinds of other things as well. And just a couple of other things which are not on there. Today normally would be the prayers for peace at the Watford Peace Embassy, Watford Peace Garden, but because of the weather, it'll not be taking place today. But please pray at 3 o'clock. That's the time we're invited to pray together for peace. That's it, apart from the newsletter, so please make sure you take away your own copy of the newsletter. There's even a page for children in there, beautifully artistically drawn by Francoise a long time ago. So keep you occupied. My wife says it's really good for old people as well. Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year 2026. Oh, sorry. Okay. Today is the first report. Yes, our HTG team. Yes, team's weekly report, and I would love to share because it's been a while I did a report here. Yes, so that is why I brought new report. Actually, yeah, recently the Chisel host held it the 7 days workshop by HTG team first and second team, and already they're preparing to leave. So they will leave in 2 weeks. So we are also living, yes, we've been here for 10 months today exactly. So yes, and then we have one more year, but it's really nice to start the new year. And yes, we could attend one guest, so I want to briefly share about it. And yes, this time we attended as a step. So we also experienced today's workshop, but it was for the first time to our first senior how they held it, the 7 days workshop. So we couldn't imagine how it's going to work together, but it was really success, I think. And yes, we could invite one guest. Yes, you can see his name is Manish, and he's 27 years old, and his background is Sri Lanka. But he was rising up here, so that's why he's British. And I met him last year in October. And yes, I've been keeping in touch with him already over 4 months. Yes. And me and Seirei, we were charge of the activity team part, and Lisa and Moonhee, and they gave a lecture especially, so they really put a lot of effort every night. They couldn't sleep very well, but I really appreciate how they dedicated for our guests and also all of, yes, who attended there as participant. And our beloved sister, Auntie, yes, Luz also attended together with us, so it was really nice. And he started to, yes, study principle 2 days ago. So he finished already introduction and the first chapter. So first, yes, video about creation. So he sent it me yesterday night. How was his feel from the principle lecture by Dr. Hana? So he wants to consistently watch, and also he wants to attend as a CARP team, which is hold it now in South London. So I hope he can move forward more, and we could also support him. So he gave also short testimony, not testimony, just reflection. But I would watch together.
And I wasn't here for the full 7 days. I was just here for the weekend. But yeah, even just coming here for the first time, I felt treated very well by every single one of you, felt very welcomed. And it was nice, even though I'm not familiar too much with the faith, I learned so much in the weekend about the Heavenly Mother and the Heavenly Father and like their movement, what they were trying to pass on to the next generation. And I can see it just from talking to every single person that I met, like from different backgrounds, and people who grew up with the faith, people who were new to the faith, people who grew up like Alistair and David, people who came in and were welcomed through, the doors were open for them, like DJ and Sean as well. And it's nice to see that the faith has united them all together and it's aligned them, and they're all very passionate and they have belief here. And I can see through everyone here, like they all have the energy, they all have that community vibe. So I know like after today, I realized this is a community.
Sorry. Sorry, I made it quite noisy, but yes, I was really happy to see how he grew up. Yes, I thought I've been also witnessing for 10 months, but yes, many people is looking for some happiness and value, but yes, unfortunately, I'm also still growing up, so that's why I'm not sure I'm really giving good value to them. So I was anxious, and also sometimes I was hesitate to invite them, especially to communities workshop. It's quite a deep, and then if I really couldn't, yes, if I didn't teach so much, I was thinking, is it really works? Something like that, but it works. And then I could see hope. So that is why I hope our team and also our community can move forward more this year. So I really appreciate all of your support and yes, other team members there. So giving a lot of yes support to all guests and also for participants. And next is a Tuesday outreach team. So we started from last year, yes, September? I'm not sure, yes. Maybe, probably that season we started. And quite, yes, we are figuring out how we can work more with cooperation with outreach team. And especially last week, Auntie Joanna, she invited his spiritual grandson. I think, yes, he studied long time ago about principle by Uncle William's lecture. And he was inspired at that time, but he moved to London. He moved to Birmingham, I think. So that is why he couldn't come often. And he came over the 10 years later. And to be honest, he forgot everything what he learned before. But he's quite interested in principle. When we start to watch Tyler Hendricks' principle lecture, and he said he's really inspired by Heavenly Parents, what we are talking now more emphasizing. So yes, he's really, yes, could see a lot of more grow, and we hope we can see more his growth. So hopefully we can meet the next time through the White Principal Club or through the Tuesday outreach team. And next is White Principal Club. We hold it on Thursday. And yes, I gave a goal setting session. And yes, all members, we could gather 9, 10. And the existing members 3 and new member 2, they came. And it was nice to have a goal setting session together because it's a beginning of the new year, and also we could share how we started the new year, and then through what kind of method, something like that. And I shared about the mandala chart, which is really famous to goal setting. So it was really great to have a time with them. And I couldn't put the picture about yesterday, New Year of Japanese member at Peace Embassy. And Auntie Keiko Show, she was hosting all our New Year's Japanese members the event. So she put in a lot of effort. So anyway, we were invited by her as a staff, and it was really great how Japanese member they gather and talk each other. So we hope all of members and also our guests, even new member, can get up more a good new year. Yes, more than last year. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope I can bring more the new hope. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try to make it short. I had a big problem with my tax return, and a dot put in, which became a comma, and which landed me, in theory, with £250,000 to pay for tax. Of course, I kind of felt pretty upset. And the long and the short is, first of all, I did guided by God because I couldn't sleep one day. He said to me, okay, put the light on, write down. And he said to me, okay, you have put your problem in my hand, believe in me. You have asked me to bless it and resolve it promptly. It will be done. I shall send you to the right person to help me. You will know. Now trust in me. I have the situation in hand. And also, I was asked to do 40 times morning and night, the affirmation. I thank you that by grace, my tax return for me, whatever situation for you in similar case, is resolved promptly, fairly, and in a perfect way. I added up on the 7th day when it was resolved. I thank you that you bless all those who helped resolve this issue. And then, 2 days later, I was specifically said, I have done that for you. Now I need you to do something for me. Please do the same for Champion and for True Mother situation. Make a positive affirmation. A positive affirmation. That means nothing negative, is entirely at the present, not future, because future is always future. And it's based on that page that I gave out, Conversation with God #1, page 910, I think. Anyway, is how to pray. How to pray, how to present a prayer. And one of the important things that God explained in that is, if you pray, please help me, or that's my wish or so, it's not good enough. If you say, I'm sick, please help me, you are manifesting and prolonging the situation of you are sick. You are just affirming you are sick. So it's no good to ask for prayer. You have to affirm that you are healed. Beatrice Gonzalez, Beatrice Stig's known of old, she did a workshop in 2016, and she was explaining how she had a near-death experience. And the short is, she, at the end of her near-death experience, she felt like she was completely okay. She was more than okay. She was okay at the NM level, you know? And then she was sent back to her body. Of course, it was no picnic because her chest was burning, 2 chests collapsed, 2 lungs collapsed, and she had 45% oxygen in the blood. Anyone who knows medicine knows that's no good at all. You are on the verge of death. And anyway, she just felt, never mind, I am completely okay. I know I am completely okay. And then she discarded promptly all the medication she had been given a list of to buy, but she kept the oxygen. And she went home and she decided, okay, what do? I'm going to make 1 mile a day, no matter how, on my knees if I have to, walking. And she did first month 1 mile, 2 months, 3 months, 3, went back to hospital, 85% oxygen in the blood. And then the rest of it, after that, she recovered and so forth. So it's just a demonstration of affirmation prayer. So she said, don't supplicate. For heaven's sake, don't supplicate. Don't beg, oh, please help me, da, da, da. Affirm what reality you want to see. Jesus said, pray as you have already received, as if you have already received. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Please read carefully that paper, and if you don't have it, please ask me. And because it's absolutely important. And God said, I have solved your problem, now I need you to do something for me. For the situation in Korea, for the situation of True Mother, make affirmation to what reality you want to see and make it happen. Through your affirmation at the present, you're speaking of the present, something that is already there. Okay? And God told me, please tell everybody, tell Bogdan, tell everybody. Okay, I don't know how to use internet, so I need you to multiply those sheets and explain why. But please, make it happen, because Mother has to be out. Mother is back to the palace. We are not talking about something, okay, that's what we wish. We say, we affirm what is a reality you want to see. what is the reality already within you and that you want to see manifested outside. Second point, okay, time I know. Second point, what is in your mind, your subconscious, and what is in your mouth got to be in unity. Principle, divine principle. And if it is not, you negate your prayer, okay? So please make sure that your faith, that's where faith comes in, and your words are one. That's it.
Yes, good morning. For the last 40, 50 years, I've been struggling to try and witness to my brother, who is a dyed-in-the-wool Catholic. And according to Anne, I was talking on the phone for an hour and a half. So I thought I was going to teach him something. So we started talking about Joseph, not the Joseph here, but the Joseph in the Bible. He had a problem with his brothers, and so they got fed up with him, and they sold him off to some group of merchants. And so I said to my brother, who is my junior brother, well, the most junior, yes. I said to him, well, you see, sometimes man does something for a bad reason because they were just fed up with him. And but God somehow made a victory from that situation. So from something bad motivation of humans, God used it for good. Because, after Joseph was in Egypt, he made good, and he became a very important person, like a prime minister or something like that. I'm not sure what a vizier means exactly, but sure William could help us out there. And so I said, well, so look, this is it, you see. So every bad situation that you find yourself in, God can use it to learn something, to grow, to become stronger in faith through all the challenges that we face. And so then I extended that principle that the people who you might call the Hebrews spent some time in Egypt. Apparently it was 430 years, sorry. I said to him 400 years just for the sake of making parallels. So then I said to him, well, in actual fact, because he's a Christian, I said, well, the Christians were almost in 400 years in Rome, been eaten by lions and so on. So I said, and then I reached a point where I could say, well, also, I'm sure there are many other 400-year periods in everybody's area of the world. But I said, what the 400-year relevant to me is some of my ancestors went to America, and they have been there for 400 years. They faced many challenges, many difficulties, but for those who could persevere, now they are in ACLC, and and there was also a 40-year period in South Africa, and now you have Radebi. So through challenges, God can bless you. So that's what I learned. So you can either look at your challenges or your difficulties as hardship, pain, or you can see, well, this is how God is training me. So maybe we could say that what I've learned from this situation is that, especially the 400 years that my ancestors have lived in America, from Africa is that they've been trained to be like spiritual SAS, special forces. So in terms of faith, yeah, so that's what I've learned from my brother. I thought I was going to teach him something, but in actual fact, through that situation, I learned something. So it was great. But the really, how do you say, the thing that my brother said was, he says, after 50 years of rivalry, he said, oh, I think we're on the same page. So, tahin desne. So, yes, thank you. Sorry, Henegajin, yeah, sorry. Well, yeah, that's basically it, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the sharing and the report. Auntie? Oh, you're going to share? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Sorry, this is just something that should have been in the announcements, but I didn't I didn't inform Raymond about it, so I'll just have to say it. There will be a Women's Federation Women's Empowerment Circle on Wednesday, the 28th of January, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's not going to be in Lancaster Gate. It's going to be at a venue called 2 Temple, which is close to Temple Station in central London. We are going to have a sound healing bath session from our brother, Jeff Bateman, and there is a small charge of £10 for whoever wants to join. Please do come along if you can. Thank you.
Just quick. Hello, everyone. I wasn't going to get up and do this, but because of what Anne said, I realized that I've actually, I have a song, and it is actually completely connected with what she said, because we can search for whatever we want to search for, whatever we want, but unless I myself have found myself, I can't make positive things. I can't make positive statements. And Jesus himself said, you are the source, you're temple of God. We are. So I have to realize that I am one with the source. And so this song is about going through different situations and then just realizing who I am. But this I am is the world, basically. So I hope it connects. Lights are going down on the stage of life. Stalls are quiet and empty, and the ice cream gone. Seems the band got tired, well, they went home to their wife. Watch them disappearing with the setting sun. Onward with the night, looks like an ending came. A shimmering of leaves, like a last empty refrain. Put the leaves in my hand, I will throw them away. I was down in your lies, but I'm up today. And I'm not gonna give stand. I'm gonna build my life with my own two hands. To believe in yourself, that's the way to something else. And it's time to discover what I am, and never giving up where I stand. Say goodbye to laughter, you might as well admit. Doesn't suit your features, you'll be well rid of it. Maybe tomorrow this confusion will clear. Well, it might be clear tomorrow, but tomorrow's never here. So onward with your thoughts and your armor-plated doubt. I've been in that armor and so happy to be out and in the fresh air. Come on, take a breath if you dare. And I'm not gonna give up where I stand. I'm gonna build my life with my own two hands. Who believes in themselves can believe in someone else. And it's time to achieve all that you can, and never giving up where you stay. We're not giving up where we stand.
Thank you so much. I think it can be more overtime than sermon. I mean, it's very good. I'm really touched for the sharing and then report and then songs. Thank you. Okay, then let's move to next one. Let us prepare our hearts for the message with the song. The song title is If I Were Free. Yes. Let's welcome the Uncle David and then Uncle Peter.
You know, this song is beautiful when it's in two lines. So maybe some of you would like to sing it one line behind, if you know what I mean. If I were free, if I were like that. So some of you might like to do that. If I were free to speak my mind, I'd tell a tale to all mankind of how the flowers do bloom and fade, of how we fall and how days when all mankind has ceased to fight, I'll raise my head in thanks each night for this great love and all it means for golden days and peaceful dreams. If I were free to speak my mind, I'll tell a tale to all mankind of how the flowers to bloom and fade, of how we fall and how we
Thank you so much for the song. Okay, now it's time to receive the message, the sermon given by Pastor William Haynes. The title is gonna be the Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. So let's welcome him. Yeah.
What do you want? Oh, I've got one of the. Sorry, I didn't bring my dongle down. Is it dongle, isn't it? Okay. David gave me. Sorry. Oh, thanks. So, good morning, everyone. Oh, yes, I don't want to trip up over your guitar again, do you? Thank you. So, it's lovely to see you all. And 2 weeks ago, we didn't have so many people, but apparently there were 72 people online last 2 weeks ago. So, hi to everybody online. Thank you for tuning in. And as of today, we have quite a crowd here, which is nice. So, I think I talk about Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. I've been thinking about it for some time because I remember that last year Krista gave a lovely sermon about the men in God's providence in Genesis. And I remember I said to her, why don't you give a nice talk about the women? And she wasn't happy to hear. It's a lot of work. Anyway, and then sometimes people say, well, it's only the men that are talked about. And to be honest, if you actually read the Bible itself, women play an incredibly important part, an incredibly important role. The problem is not the Bible. The problem is the way that people read it and interpret it. And so because Jesus didn't get married, and then basically people talked about the fathers of faith, but actually when you read about it, there are also many mothers of faith as well. And so the principle itself also has just looked at the men, the fathers of faith, and I think that's a problem. So the way I've been teaching for many, many decades has been to bring out and recognize the role of the women. And this is incredibly important, these stories. And so Francois talked about this also last year, but as I said to her, I'll be talking about it in a different way than she did. So if we look at, first of all, you know, Abraham got married to Sarah, and then God told them to go and to leave where they started off, and then to go to Haran, and then God told Abraham, now you should go and live and dwell in Canaan. And so Abraham, but when they arrived in Canaan, they settled there, but after some time there became a drought, and then along with the drought came a famine. And so they decided to move down to Egypt. When Abraham came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarah was very beautiful, a very beautiful woman. When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abraham well for her sake, and Abraham acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. So if you remember, before they actually arrived in Egypt, Abraham said to Sarah, look, you're an incredibly beautiful woman, even though you're, I think by that stage she was about 90 years old. She's still incredibly beautiful. And he said, well, look, when people see you, they're going to want you for themselves. And when the Pharaoh hears about you, he's going to want you. But if he finds out that you're my wife, he's going to kill me, put me to death. That, in reality, is the way it was in the ancient world. People who had incredible power, like a pharaoh or a king, they could take whatever they wanted, and the husband, the man, would have been put to death. So he said to Sarah, please, we'll introduce ourselves as brother and sister. You're my sister. So when the Pharaoh heard that Sarah was just Abraham's sister, he obviously he heard that they'd come to town. I'm sure the immigration officials had said an incredibly beautiful woman has just arrived. So Pharaoh invited them around for tea, and after tea they stayed for dinner. And after dinner, Pharaoh said to Abraham, look, there's a nice motel just outside the gate, outside the palace. You go and stay there, and Sarah can stay in my palace. And so the Pharaoh then took Sarah into his harem. And you can imagine what it was like there. Up until then, he'd just been living in a tent and a sleeping bag and traveling and wandering around the Middle East, living in a sleeping bag and sleeping in a tent. But now she's living in a palace. You can imagine it would have had nice soft beds and silk clothes to wear and as many pairs of shoes as she wanted and nice baths and perfume and all sorts of things. And you can imagine then she had to make a choice. So according to the story, one night, the Pharaoh knocked on her door and he came in and he started chatting her up and saying, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Would you like to marry me? You can become the queen of Egypt. You can become my number one wife. I've already got 300. But you can become my number one wife and sit on the throne with me because you're such a beautiful person. I love you very much. And you can imagine he would have started stroking her hair. So what's she going to do? Well, according to the story, God sent an angel into her. But the angel wouldn't do anything unless she said. So when he started stroking her hair, Sarah said to the angel, give him a slap. And the Pharaoh jumped out of his seat. Where? Who hit me? And he went around looking under the bed, looking in the wardrobes, looking behind the curtains. He couldn't find anybody in there. So he started chatting her up again and saying some nice words to her. And again, he put his hand out to stroke her hair. And again, she said to the angel, give him a slap. And again, the Pharaoh was so shocked and jumped up. Anyway, by the end of the evening, Pharaoh decided, man, too much and Sue. I'm going to my own bed. And so he left the bedroom and he went away. Anyway, in the night, he had a dream. And his dream said, actually, Sarah is the wife of the prophet of God, my prophet, Abraham. And he was really woke up, got on his mobile, called up Abraham, come around for breakfast, and he was really upset with Abraham. And so at that point, you can imagine then, Sarah had to choose. How did Eve choose? When Lucifer turned up and started chatting up Eve, you can imagine then Lucifer was older, he's wiser, he's much more knowledgeable than Adam. And from Eve's point of view, Lucifer appeared to be the much more attractive candidate in that sense, because he knew so much and he could say lots of nice words to her, and he awoke in her all kinds of emotions and feelings she never had before. And so she decided to go along with Lucifer, because Adam was just playing football with the monkeys and chimpanzees and making dams in the stream, and that's all he's interested in. Who grows up and matures first, girls or boys? We all know. And so that's why Eve made that choice. So Sarah then, she had to choose as well. What am I going to do? Am I going to marry Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world, and live a life of sheer luxury? Or am I going to remain faithful to my husband, Abraham? So she had to choose. And she made the right choice. So Sarah then, in that sense, we could say she restored the position of Eve. She's one of the most extraordinary women in history. She actually was faced with that temptation, and she overcame that temptation. And this is something we should all recognize. She was the most wonderful person who overcame the most extraordinary temptation so many women actually give into. Anyway, so that's the way it was. And the Lord inflicted diseases on Pharaoh. This is how it says in the Bible. Not about the dream part goes with Abimelech a bit later on. And then the Pharaoh said, anyway, she's my sister, so I took her to be my wife. Now then, here's your wife, take her and go. And the Pharaoh gave orders about Abraham to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. And then there's a commentary in what's called, it's called the Talmud. It said, when Sarah was in Pharaoh's harem, he gave his daughter Hagar as a servant, saying, it's better that my daughter should be a servant in the house of such a woman than a mistress in another man's house. And Sarah treated Hagar well and induced women who came to visit her to also visit Hagar. So how do you think Hagar felt about this? She was a princess. She is a daughter of the Pharaoh. And her dad decided, actually, I think I'm going to send my daughter to be the maidservant of Sarah, who's the prophet of God. Do you think he asked Hagar's permission to do that? Do you think he asked Hagar if she'd like to volunteer to move from being a princess living in a palace to being a servant living in a tent? How do you think she felt? Difficult, you can imagine. But according to the story, Sarah treated her very well and recognized she's actually a princess, even though her father's decided that she's going to be my servant. And so whenever people came to visit Sarah, she also encouraged them to go and visit Hagar as well, and to treat Hagar with that respect. Anyway, so that's interesting, the relationship here between Sarah and Hagar. Complicated. Now, I'm a man, so honestly speaking, I probably don't understand anything. But I just wish somebody would talk about these stories, a woman would talk about all these stories, what it's like to be in that kind of situation of Hagar or of Sarah, how to deal with this kind of intense relationship. Anyway, so, Sarah was getting old. Now, Sarah, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian servant named Hagar. So she said to Abraham, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can build a family through her. So that's the way it was in the ancient world. A person could have a child through somebody else. And nowadays we call it a surrogate mother. So in that sense, Hagar was like a surrogate mother having a child for Sarah. And in the ancient world, that was just the way that it was. And, this sort of thing goes on. And so who's taking the initiative here? Sarah. It's not Abraham who says, look, I want to have a kid. You've got a beautiful maid. I'm going to go and sleep with her. It's actually Sarah who comes up with the suggestion to Abraham. It's not Abraham who comes up with this idea. It's Sarah. Because they're struggling. They're so old, as a couple, wondering and hoping, have children. And of course, God had promised Abraham, your descendants will number the stars of heaven. You'll have more descendants than there are grains of sand on the beach. But they were praying about this, and Abraham's now 100 years old, or about 100. So Abraham agreed to what Sarah said. So after Abraham had been living in Canaan for 10 years, it was 10 years after they left Egypt, Sarah, his wife, took her Egyptian servant Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. And he slept with Hagar, and she conceived. But when she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Now, why did Hagar start to despise Sarah? What's going on inside Hagar then? So you can imagine, now again, it's me just trying to imagine what it's like to be a woman. Anyway, so I can imagine she's thinking, okay, at the moment I'm the second wife, but if I give Abraham a son, then maybe I can get promoted to become the first wife. So she's looking down on Sarah. She's thinking, actually, you haven't been able to have a child for Abraham. I'm able to. In that case, I am better than you. Yes? That kind of feeling, I'm sure, that she was having. So she started to treat Sarah with contempt, with disrespect, and despise her mistress. So you can imagine then, for Sarah then, how do you think Sarah felt when this was going on? You imagine for Sarah, this is incredibly painful. She looked after and loved her maid all these years, and but then suddenly the tables were turned. So you can imagine then, for Sarah, it's incredibly painful to be treated in this kind of way. Then Sarah said to Abraham, you're responsible for the wrong I'm suffering. So why did Sarah say that to Abraham? You're responsible for the wrong I'm suffering. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. So maybe she felt that, maybe Abraham was giving Hagar more love. I don't know. But you can imagine here, Sarah felt somehow Abraham's responsible for the way that the relationship with Hagar is turning out. And maybe Abraham should have defended Sarah, his wife, when she's been treated in this way by Hagar. I don't know, but it's really interesting, these kind of stories, what's going on in this relationship between these two women and this one man. And Sarah said to Abraham, you're responsible, yeah. I put my servant in your arms, and now that she knows she's pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. What's going on there? May the Lord judge between you and me. In other words, Sarah obviously felt Abraham is partially responsible for the way in which she's been treated by Hagar. Anyway, sorry, I can't hear you, Francois. I'm going deaf. My wife tells me I should put my earphones in. I have to listen to my wife. Yes?
Abraham got the commandment from God, that is, they said that will multiply and be so numerous. So he should have trust God that Sarah would eventually have a child.
Yes, so
Abraham is responsible too.
Yeah, so Francois suggested that God had promised that Abraham should have had many children, so he shouldn't have had this relationship with Hagar. But it wasn't Abraham who took this initiative. It wasn't Abraham's idea.
Abraham should have stopped Sarah.
But it's very easy to say that. But when you're 100 years old and your wife is 90 years old, and she stopped going to the chemist to get what do you call these things? about 50 years before. All I can say, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that's the way the world works. It's very easy to judge a person and say, well, you should just have more faith in God. But actually, personally, I understand what you're saying. Sorry? But it wasn't... Yes, but how do you know what God's viewpoint is?
God's viewpoint is that his descendant will multiply, and it was Sarah.
So what do you say to the many women now who find themselves in this kind of situation today?
I guess it didn't get that clear commandment.
There wasn't no commandment. Abraham and Sarah had to work it out for themselves. They had to come to all these decisions themselves. That's what they had to try and work out. And you can imagine they must have talked about this for decades. And wondered. And Sarah thought, maybe I'm going to die tomorrow, then how are you going to have any children? So it's Sarah who took the initiative, not Abraham. And Abraham then, he did what his wife suggested. So I don't think one can judge them and say, he should have done this, he should have done that. The point is that's what they did. And if I was in Abraham's position and my wife, who was also the same situation, came along and said that to me, what do you think I would say? What do you think about people who have surrogate mothers? It's just, or adopt children. It's
restoration. It's about restoration.
Well, it's about trying to have a family. Everybody wants to have a family. Not everybody. Most people want to have children. And if you feel I can't have a child myself, it's impossible, you have to find out, well, maybe I can adopt. Or maybe I can have a surrogate mother. If you don't want a child, that's fine. But if you do, then that's the reality.
But eventually Sarah got a child.
Sorry?
Eventually Sarah got a child.
Well, yes, I know. We'll come to that. But I can imagine at the time they didn't think that was a possibility, because that never happens. So, anyway, your servant is in your hands. Abraham said, do with her whatever you think best. And then Sarah mistreated Hagar, and so she fled from her. And so again, this is complicated. And that's what Sarah, she treated Hagar very harshly after that. And again, a lot of pain going on here. The angel of the Lord, so Hagar then, she fled, went into the desert. Then the angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. And it was spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarah, where have you come from, and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress, Sarah, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. In other words, don't treat her the way that you have been treating her. The angel added, I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. As the angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now pregnant, and you'll give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord had heard of your misery. And she gave this name to the Lord, who spoke to her, you are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. So she gave it. So that's interesting. So God actually came along through an angel and spoke to Hagar. God didn't only speak to men, he spoke to lots of women as well. And so she had this profound experience that the angel came and spoke to her. And God spoke to her through the angel, and she felt she'd actually seen God. She had this profound experience. And so that's interesting as well, how this lady, Hagar, had that kind of encounter and experience with God as well. And God spoke to her, and God also made a covenant with her and said that your son will have many descendants as well. So from that you can see God didn't just love the child that Abraham would have with Sarah, but he also loved and took responsibility for the child that Abraham had with Hagar. So did God see that what happened here was a mistake? Is God judging Hagar? You shouldn't have had a son. I'm not going to bless your son. So, when things turn out this way, then God intervenes and takes responsibility and does something like that. So I think that's interesting. So it's easy to say, Abraham and Hagar shouldn't have had a child. But from God's point of view, when God spoke to Hagar, it was very clear that God loved Hagar. God loved the son that she was going to have and said, go back to Sarah. So later on, what happens? So one day, some years later, angels came along to visit Abraham. This is the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. Then one of the angels said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Oops, missed out. Oh yeah, okay, so what I want. Okay, so God said to Abraham, so when he came with these, there were 3 people who came to visit Abraham, and God came as well. It's a complicated story. Anyway, God said to Abraham, as for Sarah, your wife, you're no longer to call her Sarah, her name Sarai, her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I'll bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. Kings of people will come from her. And what did Abraham do? Abraham fell face down. He laughed and he said to himself, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, if only Ishmael might live under your blessing. So Abraham, he laughed. When God told him this, he laughed. He thought, it's hilarious. That's unbelievable. How is it possible for me, a 100-year-old man, and my wife, 90 years old, who's had menopause 50 years ago, how is it possible for us to have a child? He thought this is hilarious, unbelievable suggestion. And he laughed, even though it's God who's speaking to him. It's that kind of relationship that Abraham had with God. Who laughs at God? With God. Very intimate relationship Abraham had with God. Very close. So he couldn't believe it. But at the same time, he loved Ishmael. Ishmael was his son. He wanted, God to bless his covenant and his lineage to carry on through Ishmael. Then God said, yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you'll call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. So God then, he acknowledged and accepted and embraced both Isaac and Ishmael as well. And this is so, we need to understand this. Sometimes people think, oh, it's Isaac only. But not from God's point of view. God also loved Hagar. He also loved Ishmael. And you could see that they did their best. They're very faithful people. Okay, then later on, Sarah, then a year later, the angels, anyway, then one of the angels said, this is another bit later on, I forget now, my memory's not what it was. Then one of the angels said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah's past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, am I worn out and my Lord is old? Will I now have this pleasure? So this is a year or so later. So Abraham then, he'd already heard from God that Sarah is going to have a son. And when Abraham heard it, he laughed. But then later on, when the angels came and announced this, Sarah overheard it. So what does this mean? Did Abraham tell Sarah that God had said she was going to have a son? He didn't. Interesting. So when Sarah heard this, she laughed to herself. Did she laugh out loud like Abraham did? No, she laughed to herself. She tried to imagine, can I imagine my old husband? He's 100 years old. When was the last time we had sex? I can't remember. I'm 90 years old. Is it possible for me to have a child? Impossible. And now will I have this pleasure of enjoying sexual love once more? She couldn't imagine it, but the whole idea that she could again have a wonderful sexual relationship with her husband, it made her laugh. She felt so happy, so excited. Interesting what was going on inside Sarah. I'm just imagining all this. So imagine the scene behind the tent flap. 90-year-old Sarah overhears strangers telling Abraham, in a year's time, your wife Sarah will have a son. She laughs. Is it bitter, cynical, or something else? A rupture of imagination? For decades she'd lived with barrenness and deferred promises, and suddenly she hears words that defy reality. For a split second she lets go of despair and glimpses an absurd, unpredictable future. Like many of us, when we hear incredulous news for the good, we laugh. Her laughter isn't mocking, it's wild, contagious, born of what? It's laughter of relief, hope and possibility, of a world that stretches beyond limits. That laughter conceives Isaac, in whom she enshrines laughter into the fabric of his name. So the name for Isaac is laugh. So 7 times in this particular passage, the word laugh or laughter comes up. It's very unusual in the Bible, people laughing. And then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I'll return to you at the appointed time next year and Sarah will have a son. So it's interesting here. Sarah laughed inwardly and she thought these things. So how did God know that she thought all these things? That she'd laughed on the inside? God knows everything. God knows our heart and our minds, everything, not just what we say. And so that's why the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? Abraham didn't know Sarah had laughed because it had all been on the inside. He didn't know what Sarah had thought. But God was being very polite to Abraham. He just talked about age. He didn't mention the fact that Sarah couldn't imagine possibly having a nice sexual relationship once more. And Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, I did not laugh. That's interesting. Sarah lied. God said this and she didn't own up. Kind of complicated. Why was she? He said, you did laugh. So why was Sarah afraid then? So I don't know. I'm just saying there are lots of interesting things in the Bible about what goes inside a person's heart and a person's mind. God said, yes, you did laugh. So Isaac was born and Sarah said, God has taught me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. And she added, who will have said to Abraham what Sarah would nurse children? Yet I've borne him a son in his old age. So this laughter thing is kind of, whenever anybody asks me, how are you? I always say, following Anne, I always say, I'm well. I'm very well, and I laugh. So Anne, when you asked me this morning, how am I, what did I say? And I laughed. Do you remember? Yeah, always laughing. Whenever anybody asks you about health, always laughing. I actually came last week, and we sat down, we talked for ages, and we laughed about our illness and our disease and all this, and this. And you just laugh. And laughter makes you well. One of the best medicines is to laugh. And I remember when my wife had her things 20 years ago, she said, oh, I need to have a good laugh. Because when you laugh, you feel well.
You relax.
You relax, your spirit is lifted up. So whenever anybody asks you, how are you? Don't, just laugh. And so whenever I go and see my doctor, we just laugh. And he said this, anyway, there are so many stories about the experience I have with the doctors and how they... Last time I went to see my surgeon, last month, he said, 3 times he said, you're a medical miracle. And we laughed about it. Life is good. Enjoy it. Yeah? Enjoy life. Anyway, so the child grew and was weaned, and on the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw the son whom Hagar, the Egyptian, had borne to Abraham was mocking. It's the same word, laughter, but a different kind of laughter. So you can laugh mocking somebody, making fun of them, or you can laugh because something wonderful has just happened. There are all kinds of different ways of laughing. So here, Ishmael was mocking Isaac. And she said to Abraham, get rid of that servant woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance of my son Isaac. So what's Sarah thinking here? She's thinking, Ishmael is 13 years older than my son Isaac. And I know the way that Hagar feels about this. I can imagine, I'm old, if I die, then Hagar will probably arrange for Isaac to die. Or maybe Ishmael will kill Isaac himself, just like Cain killed Abel. Because maybe Ishmael will be the one who wants to inherit everything and become the heir to Abraham, just like I wanted to be Abraham's first wife. So that's why Sarah said to Abraham, send Hagar and Ishmael away. Was that a wise thing to do? So the matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son. Abraham loved Ishmael. Ishmael was his firstborn son. He loved him immensely. He's already 13 years old. He'd known him for 13 years. You can imagine how close Abraham and Ishmael were, whereas Isaac was just a baby. Yeah? Different kind of relationship. So, of course, Abraham was distressed. He didn't want to do that. So he went and spoke to God. But God said to Abraham, do not be so distressed about the boy and your servant woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it's through Isaac your offspring will be reckoned. I'll make the son of the maidservant into a nation also, because he is your offspring. So what did God say to Abraham? Listen to your wife. Yes. I'm always stunned with the fact there's never a sign, hanging up in everybody's kitchen or house when they go in. God said to Abraham, listen to your wife, and this is where it is in Genesis. Because it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a very wise thing to do. I have to admit that I don't do it very often, but still, that's what God said, and I think that's wise. So Abraham listened to his wife because he realized my wife can see things much better than I can. She can imagine what's going to happen in the future. She knows about the past. She knows about human relationships much better than I do. And so that's why Sarah advised and said, do that. But at the same time, as it says there, God said, I still love Ishmael. And so this is something I've been thinking about. Because it's incredibly intense, this relationship between a man and 2 women. How does the second wife feel about the first wife? I'm not going to answer that. But I've heard women who tell me, how women talk about ex-wives. It's complicated. Yeah? So it's a very complicated relationship that Abraham and Sarah and Hagar had. And, then we think about what goes on, not only within that family 4,000 years ago, but in families today. How does a second wife talk about a first wife? How to do that? in a way that is the way one is supposed to. It's interesting, because it affects our own community as well, what's going on, and the way that people talk about these things. And, you know, God blessed Ishmael. God's covenant was with Ishmael, as well as with Isaac. And so one needs to think about this in terms of lineage, you know, within our own spiritual community, second generation, third generation, who's who, where's where, what's what, also within the true family as well. It's very, very complicated what's going on. And so I thought, okay, this is interesting to look at this story, try and figure out, and as I said, I just hope one day some lady will come along and give a sermon explaining all these things much better than I can. But all these things are in the Bible. Yeah? It's interesting that all the things are recorded in the Bible. The conversations that God has with different people, with the men and with the women, the conversations the women have with each other, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. All these things are really significant and really important. And that's why people have been reading the Bible for thousands of years, because there's so much about human nature that is revealed in there, and so much we can learn if we find ourselves in a similar kind of situation. How to deal with this kind of thing, how to deal with relationships to establish stability. And people sometimes think, well, yes, Hagar went into the desert with Ishmael, and she thought Ishmael was going to die because there wasn't much water around, and God sent an angel, opened up a well, a Zamzam, and the water appeared. Anyway, many years later, Sarah died. And then it says the rabbinic interpretation from the Talmud is that Abraham took a second wife, Keturah. But actually the rabbinic interpretation is that's just another name for Hagar. So Hagar came back to Isaac himself, arranged for his father Abraham to have Hagar back. And that when Abraham died, then he's buried by Ishmael and Isaac together. So sometimes people say, oh, this big division happened between Ishmael and Isaac, and that's the cause of all the problems between Jews and Muslims today. To be honest, that's not true. That's not how the story was told. So actually, Ishmael and Isaac were brothers, and they buried their father together. It's not that one killed the other. So, you know, that complex relationship between Abraham and Hagar, Isaac made an effort after his mum died to restore that kind of relationship, to try to rebuild the family, to try to keep things together, not to, you know, push people aside, but to try and bring things together. And so this is really important. You know, when Father said we're to be tribal messiahs, what was he talking about? Who's our tribe? Our parents, our grandparents, our uncles, our aunts, our cousins. So just like David was talking about it there. It's so important to be a tribal messiah is to restore the relationships that we have with our relatives. Yeah, it's not about going witnessing and building up a tribe. That's secondary. It's about the most important thing is the relationship we have with our family. And so that's why the Bible in Genesis and elsewhere is the only scripture that talks entirely about family, about relationships within the family, between husbands and wives, between women, between brothers. That's entirely what Genesis is about, to restore the 4 great realms of heart, 3 great kingships, and that's the sort of thing which we'll be thinking about ourselves. You know, because as we know, you know, sure, we all know, people of my generation, when we joined, it caused a lot of problems with our relationship with our parents, uncles, aunts, cousins, sisters, brothers, whatever, which should never have, those breakdowns should never have happened. But now we need to think about how can we restore it. Now, it's not about teaching them. It's not about trying to convert them. It's nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it, trying to convert people and give them a bit of wine that they're blessed. Nothing to do with it. It's about building relationships. When I first met my wife's mother, she said, "Why is Samya Moon called the True Father?" And I came up with a clever answer. Well, the Pope's called the Holy Father. She said, but the Pope's the Antichrist. Okay. I thought my wife, my future mother-in-law, was going to be a Catholic, but actually she's an extreme Protestant from the Brethren. Okay. That's where you're coming from. And my mother-in-law knows the Bible inside out. And all she wanted to do with me was to argue about Bible, about interpretation, about Jesus. And all I was doing was arguing with my mother-in-law. And I thought, there's more to life than this. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you believe that Jesus was born to live or born to die. Who cares? When you go to the spirit world, there's not going to be an examination about they're going to let you into heaven if you believe that Jesus is the only begotten Son, and you believe this and this and this and this. There's nothing to do with it. So then I thought, well, do I really want my children to see me fighting and arguing with my mother-in-law all the time, their grandmother? Do I want to have my children to decide, do I support my dad or my grandma? There's more to life than that. It doesn't matter what you believe. And so instead of arguing with her, all I did was said, oh, can I do the weeding in your garden? Oh, yes, please. Weeding in the garden, great. Can I give you a rockery? Oh, yes, please. Can I repaint your kitchen because it really needs repainting? Oh, yes, please. And can I repaint your conservatory? Oh, yes, please. I've been bothering my husband for years to repaint the conservatory, fill all those cracks in I hate. So that's all I did. I thought, I'm going to become a good son-in-law. And that's it. That's all that counts, is to make those kind of relationships. I'm not going to try to convince her or try and persuade her that Sun Myung Moon's the Lord of the Second Advent. It doesn't matter. All it's about is relationships and trying to restore the kind of family. And so one of the most happy things for me is that my children have got very good relationships with each other. They're always going on holiday together and, having parties together, but also they have a very good relationship with their cousins. So, and my grandchildren have a very good relationship with the children of my children's cousins. And so they come to stay, and, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, this is what makes me happier than anything else. The fact that my son Robert and Christabel, they prefer to go to the local Church of England. Fine, I'm happy they go to church. And that's the most important thing. So I'm going to argue, you should do this, you should do that. The most important thing is the children are happy, grandchildren are happy, and if they believe different things from me, who cares? That's not what's most important. And I learned a lot of this stuff from looking at these stories in the Bible. What's important is family, it's relationships, and trying to restore them if you can, and trying not to let them go wrong. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. All the children have come back from Sunday school. I'm sure you had an enjoyable time. So thank you all very much. And spend a few moments just reflecting a bit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Then we will now have the offering. So Auntie France, she's gonna help the gathering and the offering prayer. So, and then for those joining us online, donations, the details can be found below the video. So let us sing the Shining Fatherland. Thank you so much. The Auntie France, I can offer the donation and then she can do the representative prayer.
Let us pray. Good morning, our dear beloved Heavenly Parents. We come together this morning for a Sunday service, and we thank you for all what we can learn and understand about your providence. It has been such a long, long way for you and for all mankind to come to this point. It's been a suffering path for so long, Heavenly Parents. But we are getting there. We are very grateful that you didn't give up on us and that you have been throughout all history trying to encourage us and to help us to move a little bit further, a little bit closer to your ideal. Heavenly Parents, we are longing for a day where your kingdom will come on this earth, where the jungle group will become substantial. Heavenly Parents, there is still so much suffering in our world. In so many places, people are suffering. Heavenly Parents, and we are longing for the time that thing will come to an end, and where you can come and live together with your children here on the earth. Heavenly Parents, we are thinking, this morning we are thinking about our true mother, who is still in confinement in Korea. We are very sorry about this situation. We really pray for our true mother that very soon things can work out and she will be get out of that situation. And I pray that you can really be a time of celebration. We know that eventually you will win because we know that truth is eternal and evil is a time. It's a time that we have to endure and do the right thing to make it possible for you to come and to live among us and to become real among us. Heavenly Parents, I thank you for this morning, for this time together where we could learn about your work that you have been doing throughout history, especially in the situation of the family of Abraham, all what we can learn for our own life. And I pray, Heavenly Parents, that you can bless all my brothers and sisters here and bless this offering that they made, that this offering can be used for your providence and for your work. We thank you, Heavenly Parents, and we want to offer this prayer together as brother and sister. We report to you, as I report in my name, Françoise Murphy, Murphy family, Blessed Central family, in attendance with our Holy Mother Anne, and also our true Father, Adieu. Adieu.
Thank you for offering prayer. Then, before benediction, I added new things, that New Year motto. So please stand up and then let us all recite the New Year's motto together. Okay, 1, 2, 3. In the 13th year of the new book, when we await the Creator, Heavenly Parents, substantially, let us, the blessed families around the world, become true sons and daughters of the new book, who fulfill our responsibility as the chosen people in unity with true parents. Thank you so much. Let us invite Pastor William for the benediction.
Thank you all very much for coming. Those who prepared the nice lunch we're going to enjoy afterwards. And of course, thank you to Raymond and Lisa for the bird's nest they created, which they're now going to have to dismantle and put away. And thank you so much for being such a wonderful worship leader today. So let's just, the benediction. May the Lord bless you and keep you. And may the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Adieu and amen. Thank you. Enjoy our fellowship. And what do you say? Yeah.